Well, I can start by saying how much I enjoyed the film.
Thank you. Oh, amazing. That's a good start.
Yeah, I just wanted to start
Very
by
bad.
saying I hated the movie.
I find that very refreshing to watch an interview where the person started by saying how much they hated the film.
Yeah. I was asked once years ago about a movie, and the lead actress said to me, "Oh, did you enjoy the film?" And I didn't say I didn't enjoy it. I just said, "Yeah," and my voice went up, and she went, "You didn't like it, did you?" And I was like, and I gave the game away. It was fine.
Okay. So I'm going to really look at you and say, did you enjoy the film?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So my first question, really, I mean, just sort of generally, what it was that kind of attracted you to getting involved in this project and to play this character.
Well, it started with the script. I got the script through my agent and sent by Richard, who wrote the film, and I just really loved it. I felt like it was very well observed, and but I felt like the characters in it were very human and very sort of believable, and I just thought it was really touching, and it felt kind of like huge and domestic at the same time. So yeah, I just love the script. And then when I spoke to Rich about it, he was such a he's so laid back and but also so sort of quietly passionate about the whole thing and about filmmaking in general. And I think it's always really great to get a good script and it be a sort of very, very, very small budget independent film because people are doing it because they really, really want to do it. It's too much hassle otherwise if they're not just doing it for the money. So so the whole thing was a great combination, and I'm really glad because I think it turned out pretty well, which is a relief.
I mean, obviously it's a film with kind of quite grand kind of ideas, but it's very human tale. I very much connected to it as an audience member on the kind of human level. For you as an actress, when you get involved in a film that does explore supernatural and kind of sci-fi elements, do you just have to connect to it on a human level? Is your approach exactly the same to this and this kind of material as it would be if you were in a kind of kitchen sink kind of drama that sort of revels in sort of realism?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that like almost everything in terms of performance you hope will be believable, because I mean you have to believe in any sci-fi, you have to believe that the people are that the stakes are real, and otherwise it just becomes kind of very easily farcical. So yeah, I think you approach it with the same degree of, as much as possible, just trying to be as truthful about. I mean, I think it's really difficult, especially when it is quite domestic and quite low key, like the setting, for these people to sort of really fathom. There's quite a lot of question marks over how you would really, really genuinely respond. There's a moment where my character finds her daughter on the bed and she thinks she's missing. She doesn't know why she's there. And it was really hard to pitch, and we didn't really know quite how to do it, because you don't even quite, like, what would it mean to somebody to kind of, I mean, I always think this about like zombie films or something. It would take me like a week, if it really happened, to like fully accept that I wasn't dreaming. Like if someone's head sort of fell off or they were like a zombie coming towards me, I'd be like, this is a hoax. I think the most believable response for a lot of people is like, well, I'm dreaming. But I think you have to kind of make it as true as possible within the realms of your imagination.
Yeah. And did you have to kind of research and kind of look into how loss and tragedy can affect a relationship? Because for me, that was the strongest and most interesting aspect of this narrative. And was that research, if you did undertake it, quite difficult at times? I guess that's not an easy headspace to get into.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always something a little bit perverse about the job, which is sort of getting into the mindset of how many people actually feel. And I think, I did a lot of reading around people's accounts of how it felt and how people responded and stuff to trauma as kind of significant as that. And I think the specifics of not knowing, I think, is the really horrendous part of this story, is that she doesn't know where her daughter is. There's no explanation. And I think that limbo state of not having any kind of closure was something, that was the kind of difficult to get my head around.
But I was wondering, because you mentioned about kind of getting into the head of different people, do you think actors would make quite good psychologists? So I guess it's your job in some ways to understand how people think and how people tick to some degree.
Yeah, I think that is like the fun. I mean, I I've actually, as I've grown to be a really big fan of actors in general, without blowing my own trumpet. I may be not like this, but so many of the actors I know, I love because they're really empathetic and they care a lot about the origins of a feeling. And yeah, again, that sounds a little bit pompous on my part, but that's just been what I've learned from actors I admire. And I think that you have, you see people playing horrendous roles of really reprehensible people, and you often hear them sort of rationalizing that person's behavior, because you can sort of understand, if you think long enough, everyone comes from something. And so I think there is a kind of level of empathy that you have to deep dive into. And yeah, I mean, I read a lot of books about psychotherapy and about character, and I feel like my friends and I are very interested in behavior and how people are. So I think it's probably a big appeal of the job. Yeah.
And here's a big grand old question, but do you believe in the art of communicating with the dead? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people out there that they say that they can do it. They host these kind of events where they get people in audiences and they say, oh, we're getting word that your grandmother's speaking to you and stuff like that. Do you believe that there's any truth to that?
I honestly, it's a really good question, because I mean, I just don't know. I couldn't say. There's just no way I would say one way or the other, because of course to me it seems absurd. Like the selectiveness, like the classic thing that all ghosts are Victorian. You just think like something's up there. Obviously not all of them are. Many people who account seeing them, they're kind of all sorts, but there is a trend. And I think that there are a lot, there are people that say that they've had experiences like that, and I don't want to sort of deny that experience being real to them. Personally, I've not ever had anything of that nature. I am really scared of it though. So there's obviously enough of a belief in my head. Like I wouldn't do a Ouija board. Is that what they're called? There's just no way, because even just the thought of it would be enough to really spook me out. So yeah, so I don't know, actually. I don't know, but I mean, nobody knows. So anyone that says that it's definitely not true is also barking up the wrong tree, because you can't really know.
It's interesting you say that about the kind of, when you've got like a level of fear, it does imply that maybe there is some belief. Like, for example, I consider myself a pragmatist. I don't really believe in the supernatural, but you wouldn't catch me saying Candyman 5 times into a mirror. I wouldn't do it. There's no way I'd do it.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about it. I'll be like brushing my teeth before bed and I'll look in the mirror and my brain will say it, and I'll scarper out of the bathroom, because you just, of course, but you don't know.
Yeah. I wouldn't do a Ouija board. No way. No way.
Tempting fate, just in case.
Just in case. Yeah.
I've spoken with enough sort of people who were cynics who have had very strange experiences.
Yeah.
That is just, I don't know. I was watching an interview actually with an author. I think she wrote the Vampire Diaries. Is that who it is? Anyway, and she was saying that she doesn't really believe in it, but she wouldn't mess with it. That's her sort of. So I think that. Yeah. Like I don't believe in it, but I'm not going to mess with it just in case.
That's fair. Was it quite nice in this regard to try your hand in something quite sort of dramatic, quite profoundly dramatic, and show off your range? Because I guess as someone who sort of excels so greatly in comedic performance, and this industry has such a habit of putting people into boxes, it must be great for you to be able to just say, look, this is another side to my performance that I can achieve.
Yeah, I guess that's it's definitely nice to kind of push yourself as much as possible, and I definitely felt like this film massively challenged me. I think also because just the subject matter is just sort of just too awful to consider, really, like, and I think that's always difficult, but also you just it did feel like a challenge. Also the time, you just didn't have any time ever, so although I mean as much as we did have was used to kind of allow us to get into those places that we needed to for those kind of slightly more charged scenes. But you just never have enough time, and probably if I'd been able to have rehearsals and whatever, but you do what you can with what you've got, and it's a pleasure to do like something like that does feel quite different, quite out of my comfort zone. Pleasure's not the right word, actually. It's not always enjoyable, but it's definitely interesting. Yeah.
I mean, a lack of time is always a big challenge, especially in independent filmmaking. But another challenge was born by way of the pandemic. And I was reading this was created in the midst of that. How was that experience making a movie, a whole movie in the midst of an industry that was just changing completely at the time?
We were really lucky. Like, I kept just thinking, I'm so lucky to be doing this. I hadn't really, I guess, I'd finished filming Ghosts in March, and then I'd done a couple of episodes of Taskmaster, but that had all been very like remotely done and isolated and socially distanced. And I'd done a lot of sitting on my floor for like hours at a time. So in terms of like work, it was just unbelievable on so many levels. It was amazing to be working. It was amazing to be around people, and it was a very domestic experience. Like, we all filmed and stayed in the house, and we ate dinner there every night, had breakfast there every morning with everyone. So it was like, it couldn't have been more of a contrast from having been isolating with my flatmates. So we did actually spend a lot of time together, but just being with strangers suddenly so the whole thing was unreal, and as a result, extremely special experience. Actually, there's something about being denied all of that stuff that makes you really, really appreciate it. And then combined with it being really low budget and everyone mucking in, it was really special.
You mentioned shooting Ghosts. I mean, that's the Christmas special, I gather, which is coming quite soon. You're looking forward to that airing, because I guess it must be, obviously, when you've got some kind of established sort of fan base and it's sort of waiting to sort of see it. It must be quite, that this kind of period of when it's been made to when it kind of airs must be quite was that quite a nervy, quite excited one?
I think because it's such an ensemble show, you sort of, there's something like it's like a shared burden. So I do just feel quite excited. Like, I feel so sort of proud of that show, and I love it so much myself. I think that's the thing, is that I watch it and love watching it, and everyone is so good in it, and they really, really make me laugh. And I think, well, that's just going to be nice for people to see. There's nothing about it that, I'm just excited, I think. And I'm sure if it was just me and I wrote it, and I'd be like feeling differently, but I feel just sort of quite purely proud of it. So I'm really excited for people to see it. You obviously watch yourself a bit like, but generally there's not too much of that. So yeah.
So have you got plans to watch it over Christmas with the family or anything?
We might do, actually, because they all really like it, which helps. It makes me feel like less of a prima donna, getting everyone around the TV. Put your dinner down, come on, it's me, I'm on the telly. But most likely someone will have broken something, in the house, and some sort of disaster will be happening at somewhere in there. So I think probably we'll end up missing it. But my family really love it, so hopefully we will watch it. I'd love it if we could watch it together, I think. Well, I just don't know if that might just be quite weird, especially as the younger people in my family don't really understand that. They're kind of like, why are you on the TV? So yeah, we'll see.
I was looking over your sort of career and some of the sort of some great sort of projects that you've been involved in. I was just wondering, because going right back to the very start, I just wondered how much of a kind of learning curve was it right at the beginning of your career to be working on the huge machine that was the Harry Potter franchise? Because I mean, I've done, like many people, we've done the Leavesden kind of studio tour, and it's one of the most incredible sets and attention to detail. It is one of the most kind of like awe-inspiring kind of things to witness. How was that for you, sort of being quite a young actress, kind of stepping foot into the most magical world that's probably ever existed in film?
It was totally amazing, and at the time I was a huge fan of the books, and it was just unlike anything I'd ever seen before. I'd never set foot on any kind of set at all, I don't think. I mean, you don't, right? Like, you just growing up, it's not even in the realm of kind of reference. I didn't know anybody who was working in that world. It was just like completely awe-inspiring. All I'd seen is like behind the scenes footage of big films that you'd get the DVD of or whatever at Christmas, and you'd watch the behind the scenes. So being actually on it was just the best. I loved it so much. But also it was so funny, because looking back, it was also really infused with the anxiety of being 14, 15 and desperately trying to like make friends. So 40% of it was awe, and then 60% of it was social anxiety, and trying to sing along to like the latest song that I'd never heard, but this other kid was singing, and I was like, yeah, it sounds really great. So it feels like as big as an experience is, you always end up being just a person inside it who's trying to navigate the day-to-day of being like alive. So yeah.
Did you
But
make
it was incredible, yeah.
Did you make any friends from that time that you've sort of managed to maintain relationships with still to today?
They didn't last. I was only there 2 weeks, to be fair. But I had a very chatty boy next to me. So when I wanted to speak to Daniel Radcliffe, I didn't have to do anything. This guy would just chat and I'd be like, oh, and then slide into the conversation, like, leave the guy alone. And anyway, so that was quite fun. But no, I mean, it was completely amazing to just see the scale of it. And it's rare, I think, in general, to get to see that kind of the way that works. I mean, there were just bizarre things like Harry and Ron's doubles were, I think, people in their 40s who I sort of thought it was them, and then they turn around and it was like this much older person at the age of 15 that's really old. And I was like, and just like understanding the concept of a stand-in and the amount of time they took. Yeah, it was epic.
And just, you sort of mentioned as well Taskmaster, because I just had to touch upon that quickly, because it's so great to watch from an audience point of view. Just how much fun is had creating that show, because it looks like all of you have such a good time when you're out there making it.
Yeah, Taskmaster's just like it's completely unexpected. Like, you can't really predict how you're going to feel about that experience. And I'd seen a lot of it and sort of thought I had the hang of what it was going to feel like. And then when I did it, I was like, oh, no, this is what it feels like. And it was great. I mean, the team that we had was so lovely. I think I was very lucky. And what I found really frustrating is that, like, because we were so socially distanced and because you don't get to meet them really before, I got to episode 10 and was like, okay, I got the hang of this and I have to do this now. That's awesome. And I was like, should we go again? Can we go again? Because now I know how it works. But it was too late and I lost. And yeah, I mean, most of the time I felt like I just felt, again, like I've been in lockdown and my brain had like switched off. So I spent a lot of the time in the studio staff just being like, I'm on Taskmaster. Okay, I wonder what's happening now. And I kept having to check my brain back in and be like, you're not in your bedroom anymore. You're actually in the world. So yes, that was quite odd, but it was wonderful.
You mentioned sort of lockdown. I mean, what lots of people did over lockdown was go back and kind of just watch TV shows. And I actually went back and I decided just to watch Fresh Meat again because it was just a great TV show. I mean, that's really, over the years, it's really like established its place in the kind of canon of modern British comedy. Did you get a sense when making that show that it would have such longevity and garner such a kind of big fan base? Because I mean, it's really, even to this day, it's still got such a kind of loyal fan base that really still champion all of the episodes of that great series.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable experience. It was a very formative experience for me. That was like the first sort of proper big job I'd ever done, and I still can't believe I got to do it. Like it felt special at the time, and I wondered if it was just because it was my first proper long-term job. But I think it turns out it was actually just a pretty special experience, judging by what the others feel about it too. And I think at the time we loved it and like had the best time filming the first series, but we just didn't know how it was going to be received. So the fact that it did well, and the fact that it's still being watched for the first time, like I have people who are like 18 coming up to me and 17 being like, oh, I've just seen you in that. And I'm like, just like, oh, and then I think, oh, you were 8 when this came out and it wasn't even on your radar. And also the world is just so entirely different, even 10 years later. So yeah, but I mean, that job was probably responsible for the fact that I'm still doing this job, I think, as a job. It definitely, yeah, I was very lucky there.
I mean, of course, what helped was the fantastic writing from Jesse and Sam. And obviously, Jesse's now off making some show called Succession. Are you a fan of that show? It's good telly, isn't it?
Huge fan. They're such horrendous people. And I don't know how it manages to be so serious and so funny at the same time. I think what really haunts me is that I think it sort of just boils down to just all the sort of fragile egos of these megalomaniacs, and like the world is run by those people. Like, and you hope that there'll be these grand sort of, I mean, you know that they're not, but just inside every sort of massive conglomerate is just a petty person who's desperate for power, and you're like, oh my God, this is so stressful. I think everyone always thinks that someone is going to be good and really knows what's going on, but I think the show sort of exposes that at the very heights of power, it's just a mess, and it's so stressful, but I love it. I think it's amazing, and their writing is, and the whole team of writers that wrote Fresh Meat, they all have written so many amazing things in the last 10 years. And I worked with John Brown, who did Dead Pixels, which is a show I did, came out last year. And he's so brilliant. And it's just been great to kind of see all those writers just continue. And I mean, they were working loads before, and they just carried on making good stuff. Yeah,
well, I'm sure there'll be plenty of great stuff. But thank you so much for your time today. It was great speaking to you. And like I said, I thought Repeat is just a really fascinating. I'm just trying to get my mum and dad to see it. My mum's one of those people that always sort of says, oh, sci-fi. And I'm like, no, just trust me on this one.
Oh, great. Oh, that's really nice. Thank you. Yeah, I think that the guys will be really chuffed with that. Have we spoken before, by the way?
I don't know. I don't think we have. We might have. I mean, I've been doing this about 12 years. So we might have maybe, but it could have been something like a brief red carpet thing. But I don't think we've ever had a chat like this. Yeah. But I remember, because the only thing I was ever going to bring up, I always loved Benny and Jolene. I thought that was a great little movie.
Oh, yeah.
Jamie, Jamie Adams. Yeah. That was great. So I was trying to think if we met for that, but I think I just interviewed Jamie looking back.
Okay. Yeah. Gosh, that was a long time ago. Craig Roberts is just like killing it.
Oh my God, his new film is so good.
Yeah, Phantom of the Open, is that?
Yeah, it is honestly like it's written by Simon Farnaby, who of course wrote Paddington as well and writes all sorts.
And Ghosts, of course. One of the Ghost writers.
And I think
we all went to see it. I loved it. It was just great.
Yeah, that's great. I think he is such a good writer, and Craig's a great director. Have you ever my very final question is, Craig's obviously moved into directing, which is kind of, and in the most accomplished kind of manner. Have you sort of given much thought into doing stuff behind the scenes and working on a kind of sort of behind the lens in any capacity, really?
I think about it a lot, but I don't think I've got the temperament for it. I think I can't really apply myself to anything that isn't quite sort of there's too much planning and like organization involved, and I think you have to have such a deep confidence that you can hold together like I like to be in charge of my realm and the relationship I have with whoever I'm doing the scene with, but beyond that I find it really the thought of being in charge in any way. But you never know, maybe when I grow up and I sort of chill out, then maybe I will be able to have that kind of confidence. But I mean I do think it would be great, but not just yet. Yeah, got to master this bit first, get better at acting, and then I will get on to directing.
Step by step. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey You Guys.